With this video, we're moving into the art aspect of Her Kiss Is So last season. There's a lot of work to do just to properly prepare for the first episode, but technically we have a few things to get to before we can get to the process that you guys typically imagine when you think of character design. For my other story, Project CD, I've mostly relied on myself and the mistakes I've made to guide my character design process. I would describe this process as stressful with a lot of indecisiveness and little preparation. The thing is, I think I give out decent advice in my old design videos. Take your time, have references, and try out more than just one design. The execution of this advice is the problem.
What the f am I looking at?
But recently I found a guide online that's already producing better results. This is Blaise's 7 Steps in Character Design. Blaise is an illustrator, animator, and character designer who's been in the industry for 30 years. He's worked on Brother Bear and Aladdin. I know I said Aladdin is trash. I meant in terms of representing a culture in an accurate, not racist way. The animation is all well crafted and it definitely still holds up today. If you want a more thorough explanation of his guide, he has a very long video on it on his channel going through his process as he creates his own animated film called Snow Bear. I'd say for the past couple of months I've been applying his process and it's been going a lot better for me than mine did. My process was just too all over the place. Now this one is too, but it's all over the place in a good way. As I said, there are 7 steps in his process, the first being what the title suggests. Research. This is something I definitely didn't do properly for my other story, Project CD. During this step, you collect photos, videos, and sketch things required for your project. For example, Blaise was working on Brother Bear, so he needed references of wildlife, bears, and even studied up on Inuit culture, which was important to the movie's storyline. He used images, wildlife documentaries, and Disney even flew the team out to Alaska to study the wildlife and animals that way. Essentially, this step is understanding the concept that makes up a big part of your animation or comic. If the story is about a race car driver climbing her way to the top, you need a lot of photos of race cars and racer uniforms. You need to watch races on YouTube or even go see a race yourself and make sketches of the cars along the way. With Project CD, I knew that there was a race of people inspired by crocodiles. I knew at some point that I wanted their jaws to work like an actual crocodile's jaw. So I should have been collecting photos of crocodiles, videos, and sketching crocodile skulls. I also should have been studying human skulls and trying to properly combine the two. I did none of this, and I know that this is why I struggled. Analyze your own story and try to find out what you need to study to properly draw the world and the characters. If it's a zombie story, you should probably study gore and destroyed buildings. If your characters are animals, then study that animal and their environment. My current project, Her Kiss Is So last season, follows 2 female protagonists. It takes place in a private school. It follows human characters, specifically teenagers, rich teenagers with nice clothes. It's inspired by 2000s teen movies, so the fashion is actually really important. And there's a huge theme of nostalgia, like how simple things are in childhood in comparison to high school and becoming an adult. So, I need to study children, clothing, and human anatomy, specifically female human anatomy, since the story is very female-centered. But honestly, male anatomy is just as important. Like the girls, there's a lot of guys with different body types. I realized with this art that I did for Lesbian Visibility Day that I'm not very good at drawing children. I mean, Brooke looks 9, but also 60. And that's a problem because they're kids for most of episode 1. Their childhood is the core or origin of their relationship, and there will definitely be flashbacks to when they were kids, so I just decided to start there. Not improving wasn't really an option. I'd rather not do the project at all than have their 18-year-old faces on little girl bodies.
Hello, 911? There's a lady walking around! She's terrifying!
I collected my images through Pinterest. I considered watching kids on family channels, but when I tried to find them on YouTube, I only found videos talking about how exploitative they are.
Go like this.
No, Mom, I'm actually seriously crying.
No, I know, but go like this for the video.
So instead, I just sharpened my eye and paid more attention to kids on social media. I made observations about their features and started sketching the girls as kids. Now, I got a lot of bad drawings, which is good. Kinda. It's just part of the process. When you don't understand something, you're bound to draw it poorly. Aaron Blaise said that even a great artist may throw out dozens of bad drawings before getting one that works. He said this for the character sketching phase, not the research phase, but I still think it applies here. But I realized this went beyond not knowing how to draw children. I tried drawing Brooke from a more complicated angle and it looked like her face was sinking in on itself. And then I realized I don't even really know how the human skull works either. This leads into the next step. Know anatomy. Basically start studying what's underneath the concept. Working on Brother Bear, Blaise studied the bear skeleton and muscles to understand their movement. Understanding the structure is the key to drawing from different angles. Now, I've always been the type of person that whenever other artists started talking about studying muscles and skeletons just to properly draw people and animals, I would stop listening. Like, this is not biology class. I don't give a shit. I don't care about any of this. I just want to draw. Like, very stubborn of me and kind of me being an idiot. But if I wanted to draw these characters from different angles and not struggle, I'd kind of have to stop being that stubborn idiot and do what I've been hearing for years. First, without looking at anything, I drew a skull to see my current understanding of it. Not good. So I went to work and I looked at tutorials for drawing skulls and drew a few myself from different angles. I wasn't just mindlessly drawing them to just say, oh, I did it. I was thinking critically the whole time and making notes in my head of the structure. Throughout this process, I realized I struggled so much to draw the crocodile-inspired character because I didn't know how his skull worked. It's a crocodile jaw, but also human. I had no solid idea of what was underneath his face. I wanted a little more skull practice before I focused on the girls, so I went to work on creating a fictional, made-up skull for this character's face. Understanding the structure immediately gave me a stronger side profile. Let's compare this side profile to other profiles I did without any research or understanding of his anatomy. It's not official. I am going to design other potential skulls for him and his people, but there is improvement here. I was satisfied enough and went to draw for my girls. I looked at children's skulls, then I looked at children's skulls online. Finally, I started drawing. And again, I got better results. Wow, it's almost like people telling me to study human anatomy had a point, and I would have been a better artist by now if I had just listened and did what they said. If I could travel back in time and see my old self, it would be on site. But we can't go back, we can only look forward, and right now it seems like we're all done. I mean, we mastered the skull, so we're done, right?
You actually thought you were about to... He actually thought you... He thought of...
Well, firstly, I haven't mastered anything. I still want to draw their kid skulls and kid faces in more angles to make sure I understand. I did decent at imagining the skin and tissue over the face, but I'm sure looking at face muscles would help too. And the skulls were only one aspect of the anatomy that I needed to study for this project. I still need to study the rest of the human skeleton and shift my research onto the fashion. How do male and female skeletons differ? How do I make clothes look cheap? How do I make them look expensive? If I want to draw the characters and their clothing in different angles and stylize them or make them more cartoony, I need to understand how they work. However, something I had to remind myself of while working on this is that my team consists of one person. It's impossible for me to navigate this project the exact same way a full team at Disney would. We can try to emulate professionals and their methods, but we need realistic expectations for the amount of work we can do. A lot of us are working on our passion projects for free by ourselves while we're in school or on a separate full-time job. Blaise's team was creating hundreds of sketches while working on Brother Bear. At the most, I'll do a dozen for each study. I don't know if anyone needed to hear that. Maybe it's common sense, but I'm often hard on myself and comparing my work to work done by full teams of people. And it's just not a fair comparison or an efficient way to pursue your project. Anyway, it is really difficult to draw in different angles and stylize properly when you don't understand the structure. I had to find this out the hard way, but hopefully you don't have to. Hello? Okay.
Hello?
If you're like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or younger and you're watching, I feel bad about telling you to study skeletons and be this extensive in your art. I just wasn't thinking that way when I was that young. I had this constant flow of creativity, and all of this probably would have put a damper on that. It would have turned my art and characters into homework, and this was really my escape at the time, so that would not have been good for me. I wish I started thinking this way in high school, not at 9 years old, but every kid is different. So if you're prepubescent and all this yapping about studying skulls and skeletons and possibly muscle has you excited, then go for it. But if this is making you never want to pick up a pencil again, don't worry about it. Especially if you don't plan on pursuing art as a career and only want to draw for fun. You probably don't have to worry about this at all, especially if fun is more important to you than improving. But if you do want to pursue art as a career, or improving is just really important to you, put off learning anatomy until high school, not your 20s. In the next video, I'll tackle knowing anatomy in character design. You'll meet the main cast of the first episode as I start to understand the anatomy underneath their unique body types. I'm really excited because we're really getting into the art and the visual aspect of the project. I love everyone in the first episode, but I feel like drawing them more will reveal more about their characters, and I could possibly add more to the script. Also, every adult character is very hot.
I know y'all see Mrs. Frizzle's sexy, thick ass. Look at all that ass! I've never wanted to be a chair so bad.
They'll definitely be naked as much as YouTube will allow and as much as appropriate for art and learning. Like, this isn't going to be erotica, but seeing hot characters without clothes is always fun. I don't even want to think about their clothes. Clothes will not exist. I just want to focus on me learning to properly draw their bodies, and that's it. But that's it. I'm done talking. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.